Hello, fun people. Welcome to wotsovideos. I'm Isaac Carlson, and we've got some pretty wild news to talk about. I was not expecting this at all. I was working on my DuckTales video. We're in the midst of season 3 of DuckTales, so it's an exciting time. And all of a sudden, I found out that there is a Lion King 2 sequel being created. Something that I was not expecting. It kind of came out of the blue. I knew that there was talks of sequels being created surrounding the live-action Disney remakes. They've been extremely successful. And so I thought that it was going to be created around Aladdin 2019. I thought that was going to be the first one that would be focused on. But instead, we got The Lion King. And there's some interesting elements that I think are notable to discuss. But overall, I'd like to say, am I excited for this? I think right off the bat, that should be discussed. Is this something that we really wanted or that we wanted to be able to see? I would say no, not necessarily. I don't think that the live action Lion King from 2019 did a good job of differentiating itself or telling a very compelling story. It's just not what the original was. I felt very emotionless as the story progressed. It's just not the 1994 original film. And in and of itself, that's not necessarily a bad thing. These movies don't need to be scene for scene recreations. But if you're not telling a story that I'm able to connect with or bind with emotionally, if I can't connect with Simba or any of the characters, it's not a story that has done its job. And I don't think the original did that. And the thing is that the new director that's associated with it, Barry Jenkins, has done some pretty amazing things. He's won an Oscar for scripting. He won the movie that he was a part of, Moonlight, was a Best Picture winner, and he wrote the script for that. He's been a part of a lot of compelling projects, but the original director of the live-action Lion King was Jon Favreau, who's also had a great track record as a director. And so my fear is that even though this director has had success in the past, that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be able to escape the studio structure and pressure that comes along with that. Now, there is a positive aspect of him being involved. He talked about that he was raised in the 90s being surrounded by these characters. So there is this positive aspect that he does have a connection to this franchise, to this story, which hopefully means that he will be able to tell something compelling. Now, my question immediately when I heard this, and actually immediately when I heard that there was going to be a live action remake in the beginning, is this going to be Lion King 2 Simba's Pride? Is this going to have anything to do with the original direct-to-video sequel that we all have kind of got involved in and cared about? I mean, even in the Lion Guard, we saw these characters that were brought up, Kiara, Kovu, Zira, all of these lions that we've connected with and have been established. I'm kind of concerned that we're not going to see that move forward or brought up again in the Lion King 2 live action remake. I'm kind of fearful that these characters that we already were connected with aren't going to be seen again, which I think is really sad. There's characters, especially Zira, where they kind of took the character of Scar and pushed her to the very limits of her going just insane and wild and going to extreme lengths to bring up this lion war that really wasn't shown in the original Lion King. We got this huge conflict, but at the same time, this idea of a lion war and what would happen if Simba's ego got too inflated, if he took the job too seriously as a king and went beyond his duties to go to actually create a rift within his his family's pride, I think is something that has some really interesting bones to it. And I don't know if we'll we'll get to see that continued. We really don't have a release date right now. All we really know is that Jeff Nathanson has completed a rough draft of the script. So they've already made some progress in it into the production of the film, but it's nothing that there's no VFX artists on it. There's no confirmation of any of the cast and crew are coming back. We really only know that the people that are working on it and are involved in this right now. So one interesting, very compelling aspect that got brought up, though, in the exclusive piece that was released by Deadline, was that there's this interest in unearthing some of Mufasa's origin story. And they went into making claims that are as bold of this, conjuring up ideas of creating a Godfather Part 2 type of idea of exploring the mythology of the characters while also moving the story forward, which is a cool idea. I do like the idea of bringing up new ideas, taking these characters that we know and love and exploring them in new ways and pushing the story forward. Those ideas excite me. I love hearing about new lore and getting to see what's going to come about in the future, but the reality is that sometimes the answers that we're looking for aren't actually going to be as satisfying as the questions themselves. And the whole idea of exploring Mufasa more, a character who I felt was so fascinating, definitely one of my favorite characters from the original Lion King. I felt like all of his moments in The Lion King 2019 were completely muted because of the performance and the style of animation that was used to bring it into a more realistic live action setting. For example, bringing Simba on top of Pride Rock and having his speech, Mufasa's death and Mufasa's return all gave me very little emotion, whereas when I go back and watch the animated film, I feel it all. So the premise of going into new ground with The Lion King is exciting, but it's this conflict that I think I'm going to feel regardless of what we get, is that I don't know how you can continue a story that wasn't very compelling in the medium that you told it in. And if they don't go in the direction of Simba's pride, everyone is still going to be comparing it to a different source. Is that if we don't get Kovu, Zira, Nuka, Vitani, and this lion war, and we don't get something that's satisfying follow-up to any Lion King film, it's going to be something that's very difficult to convince people to get excited about. I know I'm having difficulty getting excited about it, even though The Lion King is one of my favorite franchises that Disney has created. Out of the list of films that I've talked about on my Disney Focus channel, it really goes Tangled and then The Lion King. It's a fascinating time to be a Disney fan. That is 100% sure. We are getting all of these interpretations, these new live action remakes. We're getting new stories to be told. But they're really not. They're interpretations of something that was already great. And it feels like they're trying to get as much toothpaste as they can out of an empty bottle. And that they're like stripping some of the creativity that was already poured into these projects. And I'm so sad that there's so many people and so much money on the line to produce these things that don't have a lot of originality and just feel corporate scrubbed projects. I haven't been that big a fan of the recent live action remakes. I really enjoyed Cinderella. but even going back to watch that, doesn't get me that excited anymore. It's kind of disappointing that we're not getting to see new things pushed forward in the even in the live action realm. It's really not putting into much conflict in the animation realm anymore. Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar Studios especially are going in their own direction in the future with Raya and the Last Dragon and Soul coming up. Those are the next two. And those are completely original ideas, which is exciting. And I think something that Disney is getting caught up in is that since they had this beautiful era of animation, that they can suddenly be able to revive their live action studios by just repeating that. And that's something that they've tried to do, is that as soon as they have any success, they really try to milk it. They did that with Pirates of the Caribbean. They rushed the project of Star Wars, which is, of course, Lucasfilm and not Walt Disney Studios. But still, there's this need to continue to move forward in production on things and to continue to push the boundaries and push the budgets and push the money that comes in. And personally, I feel like that leaves The Lion King 2 in this really weird scenario of here's the wild thing. If Disney released today saying that a prestigious Black director came in who has won an Oscar and was going to direct a Lion King 2 for Walt Disney Animation Studios, I think we'd all be super excited. That they were like, we're acknowledging that there was a direct-to-video sequel, but we want to continue Simba's story in our own way, a part of the feature lineup, and we're going to bring in an iconic cast to be able to produce it. It would be super exciting. But because it's associating themselves with this history of live action remakes and it's moving farther away from the animation, it puts us in a place where The Lion King 2 is not necessarily something that I am 100% looking forward to. And I think that's a really sad fate of the Lion King franchise, because it was this underdog tale. The Lion King was an underdog tale because a bunch of artists got put onto Jeffrey Katzenberg's passion project to bring this underdog story of going into adulthood that he was passionate about, told in Africa. A bunch of B artists at the time were considered B artists were put onto it, and it became the largest animated film of all time. And now it's become this drawn out franchise that is seems to not be trusted with as a property that can tell a unique new story. Now, there's elements again that I'm excited about that will be interesting. I will go see it. I mean, I'm interested. I want to be able to wait to pass judgment until we finally see it, but I'm not feeling too hopeful about the state of the future live action remakes, especially after seeing Mulan. I think there's just a disconnect in understanding the stories and understanding the characters from the original and what made it work. And I don't know, I just don't know if Disney has faith in the creatives that are in control of these projects to push forward in a unique direction that differs from it in a faithful way. I think that's the discrepancy. We haven't gotten faithful reimaginings, and we also haven't gotten awe-inspiring recreations. But hopefully, The Lion King 2 brings The Lion King into a better state than it has been. But that's all I have for you all right now. Thank you so much for coming onto this stream. I will be in the live chat for a little bit afterward to talk to you, but that's my thoughts. I can't wait to hear what you're thinking in the comments and in the live chat. You all have been amazing. Thanks for coming onto the stream. Thanks for chatting with me. I hope you have a very magical day.